In this CineGuru tutorial, we're going to be talking about how you can add subtitles to a scene with actors in it. So here's our Bob and Jane example that we built in the last tutorial. So Jane comes up to Bob and says a line of dialogue, Bob says something in reply, Jane kind of agrees, and then Bob goes off to this second mark down here and says another line. So what we'd like to do is add in some subtitles that would appear during this this action, this cinematic. So in order to do that, we're going to rely on another text file. This one is going to contain our subtitles. So what I've done is create another text file within the CineGuru folder, and this one is called talkiesubs.txt. And talkiesubs.txt has got all the lines of dialogue in the piece, and it's also got a little bit of kind of scene direction as well, because you quite often find with subtitles that they will put in some direction about kind of audio cues that are going on. If you can imagine, the point of a subtitle is to kind of be for someone that's kind of hard of hearing. It's good to kind of paint the scene a bit more in terms of what audio is happening. So we're going to let them know that there's tense music playing. Then we've got Jane's first line, which is Jane says, "General, there's a problem in sector 34. The main door won't unlock for any personnel." We've put that on a new line, you'll see why in a second. Then Bob has his reply, that's the big door down the hall, isn't it? Then Jane says yes, the big red one on the left, and then Bob has two lines here. Okay, so we've split this up into different lines because that's how they will appear in the cinematic. And what we're going to do is amend our action text to kind of make use of this this file. So the first thing we need to do is at the top of the file where we're kind of defining everything, we've already defined our music, is we need to define some subtitles. So type in subtitles and then type in the file path to the text file containing those subtitles. So in this case that was scriptbank, CineGuru, and then we called it talkiesubs, wasn't it? talkiesubs.txt. So then we need to add in a couple of numbers. So the three numbers after the file name are firstly a sort of a Y value for where the subtitles, where the top line of the subtitles will appear. So if you can imagine starting at the top of the screen and working our way down, we want the subtitles to kind of appear probably sort of between about 70 and 80% of the way down the screen. So I'm going to say 80 is our sort of Y position. The next number is the spacing between the two lines of subtitles. So that again I think is a percentage. So this will be a little bit of trial and error, but I find that 4% works quite well. So our top line of subtitles will be 80% of the way down the screen. The second line of subtitles underneath will be 84% of the way down the screen. But that may vary depending on kind of your screen. And then the last thing you need to do is specify a size for the font. Now this runs on the kind of CineGuru font system. You're not specifying like a point size like you would in sort of like a word processor. CineGuru has about 6 different preset sizes for different text, and it just uses the appropriate sprite sheet depending on what number you put in. So I'm going to say 4. So the way subtitles are going to be rendered on screen is you're going to get white text against a kind of a black sort of strip behind. And we need to specify the length of that strip so that it covers all of our text, but we don't really know how long that is just by kind of guessing it. So what we're going to do is put in debug. Now debug does a number of different things. You'll see lots of different prompts come up when we put in the debug command, but what it will do is it will start guessing the length that that black sort of highlight strip needs to have. Okay, so let's start setting up our subtitles. So the first thing that happens is obviously they both play their idle animations, and really as soon as the cinematic is triggered, we want to put in some sort of subtitle that says that tense music is being played. So what I'm going to do is type in after the idle animations sub_1_3000_2. So what does that mean? So firstly, it's a subtitle. We're looking at the first line of the subtitles in our subtitle text, which in this case just says tense music in square brackets. It wants to be on screen for, hang on, I've got too many text files open at once. There we go. Right, so it's the first line of our subtitle file. It's going to be on screen for 3000 milliseconds or 3 seconds. And then we also get to specify which line the subtitle is on. So remember when we specified, you can have up to 2 lines of subtitles at once, by the way. We specified where the top line should be, 80% of the way down the screen, and then the spacing for the second line, which is 84% of the way down the screen. What we're saying is we want this to appear on line 2, so 84% of the way down the screen. There isn't a default, but the convention for subtitles is that if you've only got one line, you have that on the lower line first, because it doesn't impinge as much on the screen, so it takes up less kind of screen real estate in a way. Okay, so we've added our first subtitle, and if we go and save that now and we run our test game, the subtitles should play. And of course we've got debug on, so we've got these other commands, but you'll see a number appear underneath our subtitle. So tense music. So
there's a problem in sector 34. The main door won't unlock for any.
Okay, so you notice that there was a little number 13 under there. So that was guessing how wide the little highlight strip should be behind the subtitle. I think 13 was a bit too wide, so I'm actually going to put in 11. So by adding in that extra number at the end, you basically tell CineGuru, no, put a that's the width of the highlight strip you want behind that particular bit of text. So let's have a quick look and see if 11 was a better choice.
General, there's a problem in sector 34.
So yeah, I think that was better. Okay, so now what we want to do is start adding in subtitles throughout our action text for each line of dialogue. So whenever a character speaks, we want to add in kind of straight afterwards a subtitle command. So when Jane speaks, she actually says 2 lines of dialogue, she says a line of dialogue that's so long it needs to be broken up over 2 lines basically. So she says, General, there's a problem in sector 34. The main door won't unlock for any personnel. I'd like both of those lines to appear on screen at the same time, and I can do it by just using the subtitle command twice in quick succession. So as she speaks, I'm going to type in sub_2 because it's line 2, 6000 because it's quite a long line of dialogue, _1_35. So that's display the second line of subtitles for 6 seconds on the upper of the 2 lines that we can have, and put the black highlight strip behind, make that 35% the width of the screen. And then for the second line, again, it's going to be sub_, we'll have the third line of the subtitle file this time. That's the one that says the main door won't unlock for any personnel. We'll have that on screen for 6 seconds as well. And we'll have that on line 2. And we'll have that as 35.5. So let's just save that and quickly check that that makes sense.
General, there's a problem in sector 34. The main door won't unlock for any personnel.
Okay, it looks good. So I'm going to go through and add subtitle commands for the other actors, or for the other lines of dialogue. So Bob replies with a single line. He says, that's the big door down the hall, isn't it? Which is the 4th line in our subtitled text. That is on screen for about 4 seconds, and because it's a single line, I'm going to put it on line 2, and it's not as long a line, so I'm going to use 30 as the width of the highlight strip. And then Jane replies, and she will obviously say the 5th line in our subtitled text, which is a much shorter line as well. Yes, the big red one on the left. So we'll have that on screen for 3.5 seconds on line 2, and we'll set the width of the black highlight strip to 28. And then finally, Bob has these 2 lines here. So we'll have them both come up at the same time. So when he speaks, we will have sub underscore 6 5000 line 1 22 width, and then sub the 7th line of the subtitle script on screen for 5000 seconds on line 2 with just a 15 width. And then we also want to use that last line, music fades out, just to kind of let people know that the music has stopped. So again, that's sub underscore 8 underscore 3000 underscore line 2 and 14 as the width. So we'll save that, and actually we can also comment out stuff by adding 2 hyphens. So we'll do that. So we comment out debug so we don't get any of that extra text showing. Let's have a look.
General, there's a problem in Sector 34. The main door won't unlock for any personnel.
That's a door down the hall, isn't it?
Yes, the big red one on the left.
You can have my key, if I could find it.
Okay, so there we go. Pretty successful little cinematic there. So in the next tutorial, we'll look at switching scripts once you're done with actors, so they become enemies again, and also what happens when you abort a cinematic midway through.